There ain't no grave can hold my body down. When I hear that trumpet sound, I'm gonna rise right out of the ground. Ain't no grave can hold my body down.
Of all the entertainment in the world, television is easily one of the most popular. The characters we see on a regular basis are like family to us, and when they go through hardship, we go through hardship. Now, what's even worse is when they die. So in honor of those beloved characters of television that we have lost over the years, I give you my list of the top 7 saddest deaths on television. To make the list, the death must have been sad or at least made the audience weepy in some way after they perished. They cannot be deaths that we cheered for in the end, like Gus's death in Breaking Bad, no matter how awesome it was. This is a somewhat personal list, but if you agree, that's great. But if you disagree, feel free to let me know. I'm curious about you viewers. There are also some spoiler alerts if you didn't catch the warning. And plus, some of these shows I have not been 100% caught up on. So no spoiling it for me. And I'm talking to you, Cameron.
You know who you are.
And why the number 7? Because you don't need to worry about it. So, without further ado, let's begin. Number 7. The 10th Doctor from Doctor Who. Now, I hesitate due to my distaste for the show, but when a man's last words are,
I don't want to go,
you have to feel something. And besides, can't he regenerate or something every time he dies? He turns into a new person, and could somebody please tell me, because this is just confusing. Number 6. Shirley Bellinger from Oz. As the only female prisoner in the Oswald State Penitentiary, Shirley was sentenced to death after murdering her daughter. She was cold, she gave people the runaround, and she pretty much was as charming as a woman in a man's prison can be. When given the choice of how she wanted to die, she chose by hanging, and in her final moments, as she was being escorted to the gallows, she, despite being relatively indifferent to her death at first, broke down and pleaded for her life, and with her last breath, begged for the mercy of God to help her. And even the people who rooted for her death in the beginning cringed as she took her final breath. Number 5. Merle Dixon from The Walking Dead. Yes, he was racist, yes, he was irritating, and yes, the deaths of Lori and Herschel and all those other guys was truly sad as well. Merle was the guy that everyone loved to hate. When he sacrificed himself to give his brother's group of survivors an advantage against the governor, his death was truly heroic. However, it is his second death that makes it on this list. When he returns as a mindless, man-eating walker, it is his brother that has to put him out of his undead misery, and the look on Daryl's face afterwards says it all. Number 4. Seymour from Futurama. The only animal on this list, Seymour was Philip Fry's best friend and pet of his boss, Mr. Panucci. Before delivering a pizza to Mr. I.C. Wiener, Fry promised Seymour that he would return shortly. After Fry is frozen, Seymour continued to wait for a long time after. What makes this death truly sad is not that this animal was devoutly loyal to Fry, but that, in the end, Seymour spent his entire life waiting for a man who would ultimately never return. After years of waiting, Seymour finally laid his head down to rest and ultimately die, with the final thought that Fry would be coming home soon. Number 3. Walter White from Breaking Bad. A chemistry teacher turned drug kingpin, Walter Heisenberg White was a force to be reckoned with. However, in his final moments, he successfully killed the neo-Nazis that imprisoned his former business partner, Jesse Pinkman, and unfortunately killed himself in the process. Now, what makes the death sad is that this is a man who, in the beginning, we've continued to root for and hoped that he would see the great pasture of success with his family. And in the end, he died alone in a drug lab. Number 2. Everyone from Game of Thrones. This is a show that kills most of its major characters. Of course it's going to be on this list. And plus, I hear the Red Wedding was a pretty big deal. Now for some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list.
When I hear that trumpet sound, I'm gonna rise right out of the ground.
Number 1, Deborah Morgan from Dexter. Now, I know that Rita's death was tragic as well, but Deborah's death in the series finale was truly heart-crushing. Deborah was one of only a select few people that serial killer Dexter Morgan truly loved. However, throughout the series, she had been through more trials than a normal person should ever endure. When she hunts for a serial killer known as the neurosurgeon, she's put in a vegetative state by the killer. And in the end, Dexter has to take her off life support and buries her at sea. Now, to think that such a strong character would go out like this has shaken me for days. Literally. It took me days to get over this. However, in a way, it's somewhat of a relief when you realize that a traumatized and tragic life has been put out of its misery. Now, the death of our favorite characters is truly terrible.
Not for me. Personally, I find enjoyment in it. That's just wrong.
You know, the ancient Egyptians had a beautiful belief about death.
Nobody asked you!
Well, look way down the river, and what do you think I see? I see a band of angels, and they're coming after me. Ain't no grave can hold my body down. There ain't no grave can hold my